Good evening. From the look of the queues outside many of the capital's petrol stations over the past few days, the government's pleas to stop panic buying are falling on deaf ears. Motorists have been racing to the pumps to fill their tanks in light of the spiralling lorry driver crisis. Bringing in the army is one of the solutions floated by ministers. Nothing has been firmed up, but pressure is growing. Mayor Sadiq Khan has joined the debate, saying that any fuel left must be kept for London's key workers. We'll have more on that in just a moment, but first, Rags Martel reports on a city running on empty.
There's no panic here, just desperation.
I have lost money inside the car I'm driving. I can't get to my workplace. Yesterday, no work. Today, no work. What am I going to do?
How long have you been queuing?
This is the third garage I've tried to queue at. I work 30 odd miles away from here. I've got 40 miles left in the tank. If I don't, I'm not going to have enough fuel to actually get home.
Going to funeral.
Wow.
I'm a key worker as well.
And you got no petrol?
No petrol. We're going for funeral right now, so no petrol.
Petrol stations either have long queues or are completely deserted after running out of fuel. This petrol station has now run out of unleaded. It's only selling diesel now, but the queue it's causing goes all the way down there as far as the eye can see. And they've only got diesel left.
I know, and I've just wasted petrol sitting here. I'm off. Bye.
How much do you need the petrol?
If I don't have petrol, I can't walk.
It's just typical, isn't it? This always happens. If it's not toilet rolls, now it's petrol.
The government has again insisted there's no petrol shortage. All this has been created by panic buying and won't be calling in the army.
The only reason that we have an issue at the moment with some petrol stations not having petrol in the forecourts is that people are buying petrol and they wouldn't. The most important thing everyone can do is just get back to normal. We've no plans at the moment to bring in the army to actually do driving, but we always have a civil contingencies section within the army that's always on standby should they be needed, but we don't judge that's necessary at the moment.
The lorry driver shortage is a long-standing problem that's recently got worse. Terry Sylvester is based in Dartford. He has a heavy goods vehicle licence, but believes the low pay and long hours doesn't attract enough new drivers.
There's probably too much work and not enough drivers. And drivers are leaving because there's better wages somewhere else, and then we can't replace them. So everyone else has got to make up the shortfall because the work's still coming in. So we've all got to do extra hours, if we can, just to get the work done.
And as the queues grow, more and more businesses are struggling to operate, like this driving instructor.
I had to stop lessons earlier yesterday because I ran out of fuel. So I'm just trying now to fuel up, see if I could get fuel for the next few days, or I'll just no work.
I just managed to get £13.56 and it ran out literally as we was talking, as we was going through it.
Wow, you got the last drops?
Literally the last drops.
Is that enough?
No.
And with that, another forecourt closes. For motorists, the search for petrol continues somewhere down the road. Rags Martel, ITV News.
So what does Mayor Sadiq Khan think about the growing crisis? Well, he's down in Brighton at the Labour Party conference and spoke to our political correspondent, Simon Harris, who joins us now. And Simon, Mr Khan's focus was on key workers, wasn't it?
Yes, Charlene, Sadiq Khan came to Brighton to call for unity in the Labour Party, but as Mayor of London, he couldn't ignore what was going on at filling stations across the capital. And he had a blunt message for the government: get a grip. But he also said London's dwindling supplies of petrol and diesel should be reserved exclusively for key workers.
My name is Sadiq Khan, and I'm still the Mayor of London.
Sadiq Khan's election win in May came with an extra prize today, the opportunity to address the Labour conference. It's a privilege he last enjoyed 3 years ago, but his message to party members was overshadowed by the fuel crisis. The Mayor wants some Londoners to have priority at the pumps.
I think we've reached a stage now where people who don't need fuel, where they've already got petrol in their tank, should allow others who need it to do their job, to serve our city, to get the fuel. And one way of doing that is for the government to do what I'm suggesting, which is to make sure the fuel that's left is reserved for key workers.
Sadiq Khan said key workers would include hospital staff and care workers, as well as London taxi drivers.
We are part of the transport system, public transport.
and all sorts of people use us all times, different times of the day for different journeys. If we're not there, those people, particularly those who rely on us, who can't travel by other means, can't move around.
But inevitably there would be losers.
No, I don't think that's feasible.
Why not?
I just think the world would stop functioning.
Not everyone will need it. Like if you have an emergency, what I suggest, like if there is like some petrol stations only for the key workers and they give them, like they direct them.
Later, the Mayor spoke at a conference fringe meeting for London's business leaders. All agree something needs to be done to end the shortages, but a priority list has drawbacks.
The challenge is, how do you draw up that list? How do you decide who should get the petrol? How do you deal with somebody who may have a domestic or other emergency situation that requires them to be able to get around in their car? So I think it's a good objective, difficult to do in practice.
The Mayor thinks soldiers should take on the role of tanker drivers, but that's not part of the government's current thinking.
Simon, do we know how big a problem this is in London at the moment?
Well, the Mayor says his officials at City Hall are talking to the fuel companies and to the Department for Transport, and as far as he's concerned, the situation is getting worse, not better. On the plus side, it seems that Transport for London and the emergency services have all the fuel they need, so there's no immediate threat to the police, fire and ambulance services or to London buses, apart from the obvious one of being caught up in the gridlock as people queue at petrol stations. The government, as Rags said earlier, is continuing to monitor the situation. It insists there is no shortage of fuel and drivers should only fill up their tanks when they need to. Charlene.
Simon, thank you.